Welcome to the library down below. I see you're drawn to that book, if you can dignify it with such a term. Best Loser Wins. Penned by one of your own, a mortal named Tom Hougaard. He fancies himself as having tamed the beast that is the market, and in a way he has. But not through the usual, oh so predictable, methods you cling to. Here, we'll delve into his insights, and perhaps, if you're fortunate, you might just learn something of value. Shall we begin? Welcome to a discourse, not on how to conquer, but how to lose. Intriguing, isn't it? A fool like yourself would have probably expected charts and secret formulas, no? He speaks of a relationship with the market. A mistress, he calls it. Elusive, capricious, forever just out of reach. Which reminds me of another denizen of the enclave, but with any luck, you best not meet her. Anyways, how very human of him to personify such a force. But there's a kernel of truth in his romanticism. The market, you see, reveals its secrets not to the boldest conqueror, but to the one who understands its fickle nature. And, more importantly, understands himself. Hidden lessons abound in this dance with the market. Lessons most of you are too arrogant, too obsessed with winning to ever perceive. You chase the fleeting highs, blind to the precipice that awaits. But fear not, for within these pages, Hougaard attempts to illuminate the path to self-understanding. A tedious pursuit, I admit, but a necessary one if you wish to avoid becoming mere fodder for the financial wolves. And now, to a concept most repugnant to your very being, failure. You humans, with your fragile egos and desperate need for validation, you recoil from it as if it were sunlight to my kind. But Hougaard, in his wisdom, understands its significance. Failure, he argues, shapes your growth, dictates the trajectory of your very existence. A bitter pill to swallow, no doubt, but one that can immunize you against the more devastating blows the market will inevitably deliver. The core message of this endeavor? To become an outstanding loser. Yes, you heard me correctly. Not an outstanding winner, as your naive little hearts might desire, but an outstanding loser. This, my friends, is the true alchemy of the markets. To condition your feeble minds to accept loss without the crippling weight of negative emotion. A feat easier said than done, I assure you. Your inherent aversion to pain, it's quite amusing to observe. Hougaard even dares to compare his own technical analysis knowledge, apparently quite average, to his understanding of himself. The audacity to suggest that the arcane rituals of charts and indicators pale in comparison to the labyrinth of your own psyche. Yet, he has a point. All the knowledge in the world is meaningless without the self-awareness to apply it effectively. The true measure of growth, he claims, lies not in what you know, but in what you do. A sentiment even an ancient like myself can appreciate. So, are you ready to delve into this paradoxical world where losing is the key to winning? Are you prepared to confront the weaknesses within yourselves that the market so gleefully exposes? If you possess even a sliver of the cunning I've come to expect from those who seek forbidden knowledge, perhaps you will find some value in these mortal musings. But do not mistake this for an easy path. The journey to becoming an outstanding loser is fraught with peril, self-doubt, and the gnawing temptation to revert to your predictable and ultimately losing ways. We now delve into what he titles, with a distinct lack of flair, Introduction. It is here that young, or rather middle-aged, Hougaard sets the stage for his grand pronouncements on how to navigate the treacherous currents of your financial oceans. Observe the subject himself as he presents his credentials. A man named Tom Hougaard, who at the time of writing informs us with the precision you mortals often employ, was 52 years old. A mere blink in the endless passage of time, yet for your kind, a significant milestone. 30 years prior, he undertook a journey, leaving behind his native Denmark. A land of stoic resilience, one might imagine, though clearly not enough to sate his ambitions. His destination. The venerable and often volatile city of London, a veritable crucible of earthly commerce, and dare I say, human folly. His aspirations, typical of your species' relentless pursuit of material gain, were to trade the financial markets. A seemingly straightforward ambition, yet one that has ensnared and ruined countless souls throughout history. He harbored an idea, that most dangerous of human possessions, of what was required to achieve this coveted status of trader. And what constituted this foundational idea? The accumulation of knowledge, of course, a Bachelor of Science in economics and Master of Science in money, banking, and finance. He believed in his mortal naivete that these parchments, these formal endorsements of acquired theories, held the key to unlocking the intricate mechanisms of the market. How often you mortals equate understanding with mastery, as if reading about the art of war could transform a pacifist into a seasoned general. Furthermore, he possessed a good work ethic and a passion for the markets. Laudable qualities, perhaps, in more grounded pursuits. Diligence and enthusiasm applied to, say, the meticulous crafting of a coffin might yield predictable results. But the financial markets, driven by the capricious whims of human psychology and the relentless tides of global events, are far less amenable to mere effort and fervor. But here is where the narrative takes a turn, a familiar one to those of us who have observed your species for epochs. I was wrong, he states, with a starkness that suggests a hard-won realization. The edifice of his academic achievements, the strength of his work ethic, the ardor of his passion, all proved insufficient in the unforgiving arena he sought to conquer. He arrives at a profound, if somewhat belated, understanding. On paper, I was qualified to navigate the financial markets. In reality, educational qualifications mean little in the dog-eat-dog world of trading. A rather brutal assessment of the value you place on formal learning, especially when confronted with the primal instincts that govern speculative endeavors. The market, it seems, cares little for your meticulously crafted theses or your well-researched reports. It is a realm of instinct, of fear and greed, where the survival of the fittest takes on a particularly avaricious form. Thus, the very purpose of this book is unveiled. This book describes the journey I went through to get to where I am today. A personal odyssey, then, a recounting of trials and tribulations, presumably leading to some form of enlightenment, some hard-earned wisdom that he now deems worthy of sharing with his fellow mortals. And where, precisely, is this destination he speaks of? At the time of his writing, he boasts of a remarkable feat, a streak of not had a losing day in 39 trading days. A commendable run by your standards, though even the most skilled predator experiences periods of both feast and famine. He also mentions his Telegram trading channel, a modern form of communication I am still attempting to fully comprehend, where his followers witnessed his financial prowess. A staggering £325,000 made in a single month. And not in the abstract, mind you, but in real time, with real-time entries, money management, position sizing, and ultimately the exit of the position. No time delays, no lag, all done before their eyes, time stamped. A display of transparency, or perhaps a carefully curated performance. Regardless, it serves to establish his credentials, to entice the reader with the promise of similar fortunes. He then broadens his scope, claiming that his book dispels the myths of what it takes to be a home trader, or any trader for that matter. Myths, often born from wishful thinking and perpetuated by those who profit from the dissemination of comforting illusions. His own journey, he reveals, initially followed the well-trodden path. A lot of books about a lot of indicators, patterns, and ratios. The very tools that so many cling to, hoping to decipher the seemingly random movements of the market. Yet this pursuit of external knowledge proved ultimately unsatisfying. The true revelation, the real answer to the elusive quest for trading profits, lay not in these arcane studies, but right inside of me, all along. A sentiment that echoes the earlier advice in Dear Markets, the imperative to understand oneself before attempting to understand the market. He concludes this introductory segment with a rather dramatic flourish. It truly was the last place I ever thought of looking, as is so often the case with profound truths, is it not? They lie hidden in plain sight, obscured by our relentless search for more complex explanations. So, what do we gather from this initial exposition? A man, initially misguided by conventional wisdom, stumbles upon a deeper understanding, one that emphasizes introspection and self-awareness over the rote application of technical tools. He presents himself as a successful practitioner, offering his journey as a guide for others seeking to navigate this perilous domain. A familiar narrative, perhaps, the tale of the initiate who overcomes adversity to achieve mastery. Yet the emphasis on the internal struggle, on the battle with oneself, hints at a more nuanced approach than the typical promises of instant riches that often permeate the realm of trading literature. Hougaard leads us to a chapter bearing a rather intriguing title, Liar's Poker. A game of deception, of veiled intentions and calculated risks. One might almost believe it a microcosm of your human interactions, particularly within the labyrinthine world of finance. Let us delve into the genesis of young Hougaard's fascination as recounted in these pages. Our subject recounts a pivotal moment in his formative years as a nascent speculator. It appears that even the most driven of your kind are sometimes waylaid by the common afflictions of mortality. In Hougaard's case, it was the influenza virus that confined him to his dwelling. A most unwelcome guest, perhaps, yet one that inadvertently set him upon a new trajectory. His progenitor, in an act of familial benevolence, or perhaps merely to alleviate the boredom of convalescence, provided him with literary diversions from the public library. Amongst these tomes lay one that seized the young Hougaard's attention, a book titled Liar's Poker. He informs us that this particular work is a period piece, a snapshot of a bygone era, penned by a certain Michael Lewis, a name that, while unfamiliar to my timeless existence, appears to hold significance in your modern world, as Hougaard notes him also as the author of The Big Short, a tale that was deemed worthy of adaptation into one of your moving picture shows. A Hollywood blockbuster, no less. Your fascination with dramatizing your financial triumphs and follies is endlessly diverting. This Liar's Poker, we are told, paints a vivid portrait of life as a bond trader during the excesses of the 1980s, a decade often characterized by a certain unbridled enthusiasm for material accumulation, a trait I've observed with consistent regularity throughout your history. The author, Lewis, apparently intended his work to serve as a cautionary tale, a warning to future generations about the gluttony of the finance industry. And indeed, a warning to young people wanting to work in the financial industry. A noble intention, one might concede, even if somewhat optimistic, given your species' persistent attraction to the very temptations being cautioned against. And here, the narrative takes a predictably ironic turn. Hougaard suspects that Lewis's warning had the opposite effect. He postulates that thousands of young men and women like me read the book and thought to themselves that Wall Street was the place to be. Such is the allure of perceived power and wealth, even when presented within a framework of potential moral decay. The forbidden fruit, it seems, remains the most enticing. The book, as recounted by our aspiring trader, describes the journey of a young man traveling from America to Britain to study at a London university and subsequently being hired to work for an American investment bank. A familiar narrative of ambition and transatlantic migration. More importantly, it offered a glimpse into the inner sanctum of finance, describing what it was like to work on a trading floor and observe some of the big traders there. This, it seems, was the spark that ignited the flame of Hougaard's own aspirations. I was hooked, he declares, with the fervor of a newly converted disciple, and I knew trading would be my vocation. A decisive moment, brought about not by rigorous economic analysis or a profound understanding of market mechanics, but by a narrative, a story of human endeavor within the financial arena. It speaks volumes about the power of storytelling to shape your desires and influence your life choices. Hougaard then offers a comparative assessment of this influential work. He acknowledges that he has since read many other trading books that are perhaps more specific about trading than Liar's Poker. Indeed, one might expect a treatise on technical indicators or risk management to be more directly relevant to the practicalities of speculation. However, he concludes that, as a starter book, I could not have asked for anything better. Why this preference for a less technically focused introduction? Perhaps it was the human element, the glimpse into the psychology and the culture of the trading world that resonated so deeply with the young Hougaard. The understanding that finance is not merely an abstract exercise in numbers, but a realm populated by individuals driven by ambition, greed, fear, and the complex interplay of human emotions. So, what can we glean from this chapter? The seeds of Hougaard's trading ambitions were sown not in the dry soil of economic theory, but in the more fertile ground of a human story. Liar's Poker provided him with a vision, an initial understanding of the world he wished to enter, not through charts and ratios, but through the lived experiences of those who already inhabited it. It highlights the enduring power of narrative to inspire and to direct the course of human lives, even in the seemingly cold and calculating world of finance. It also serves as a reminder that sometimes the most impactful lessons are found not in explicit instruction, but in the subtle nuances of human behavior, as revealed through compelling storytelling. A curious beginning, wouldn't you agree, for a journey that promises to dissect the very psychology of successful trading. A chapter titled, "With a certain bluntness characteristic of your species, the trading floor." A designation that conjures images of frantic activity, of human emotions laid bare in the relentless pursuit of, well, more of those curious little green rectangles you seem to covet. Let us observe, through Hougaard's recollections, this peculiar human spectacle. Our subject begins by recalling a rather formative experience. His interview for a trading job, following his university endeavors. It transpired on the very trading floor of a Scandinavian bank. He recounts his interviewer, the head of trading no less, as being intensely focused on something else, regarding the aspiring Hougaard as an inconvenient distraction. A sentiment, I confess, that often echoes my own when dealing with the ceaseless trivialities of the mortal realm. Hougaard, it seems, would come to know this feeling intimately in his own trading endeavors. He then offers a rather domestic illustration of the trader's divided attention. The peculiar observance of your Boxing Day in the year of your Lord 2018, while the rest of humanity presumably engaged in familial rituals and the consumption of Christmas pudding. Our Hougaard found himself amidst the biggest one-day rally in the history of the Dow Jones Index. A rather jarring juxtaposition, wouldn't you agree? He speaks of concealing his mobile phones under the dinner table to avoid offending his host, resorting to numerous trips to the toilet to surreptitiously monitor the volatile markets. Such dedication bordering on obsession for these fleeting financial tides. Hougaard's arrival at the trading floor of financial spreads brought with it a very different attitude compared to his colleagues. He feels compelled to clarify that he doesn't accuse them of indolence. Rather, he soon discovered a rather surprising reality. When the markets were quiescent, there was a distinct paucity of activity among these financial intermediaries. He observed individuals sit around and read the newspapers or comic books. If those infernal devices, the telephones, remained silent, compelling a broker to do anything proved to be a significant challenge. This, he notes, was the biggest culture shock he experienced. The contrast between a normal office job and a trading floor? It seems even in the heart of this supposed financial maelstrom, stretches of profound mundanity can prevail. The environment of a trading floor, he concedes, is initially intimidating. Yet, with the relentless passage of time, one becomes, rather disturbingly, immune to the money changing hands. It reduces itself to mere numbers on a screen. He recounts an anecdote of a Russian client facing a margin call for $10 million at the rather ungodly hour of 6 a.m. Hougaard, by his own estimation, calculated it would require 133 years on my current salary to make $10 million. Yet by 7 a.m., the funds had been wired. This, he emphasizes, was a private trader, an episode that inspired in him a sense of awe. Such are the scales of fortune in this human game. Fortunes amassed and dispersed with astonishing rapidity. A unique atmosphere permeates these trading floors, Hougaard observes. When activity surges, it transforms into a gigantic melting pot of human emotions. He recounts witnessing a colleague physically assaulting his computer, kicking his PC so hard repeatedly that IT engineers had to come and replace it. A rather visceral manifestation of financial frustration. He finds it hard to fathom that the financial markets are a complex mechanism when one observes such primal outbursts. It bears a closer resemblance, in his estimation, to a local market stall on a busy Saturday morning, where each vendor attempts to outshout the next. A rather unflattering comparison to the supposed sophistication of global finance. Witnessing these raw, uncensored emotions unfold, Hougaard found it difficult to see how that fits into a finely tuned global economic environment. Instead, he perceived a display of impulse buying, panic selling, holding on to losses, refusing to admit defeat, greed, stupidity, stubbornness, despair, tears, abject depression, exhilaration, and excitement, all in rapid succession. A veritable cornucopia of human folly and fleeting triumph, all driven by the relentless pursuit of these immaterial gains. His tenure at Financial Spreads lasted a year, after which he was, rather unceremoniously, asked to depart. However, fortune, in its fickle human way, intervened. On the very same day, he was headhunted by City Index, a firm owned by a major player in the U.S. government bond market. And thus, our subject's journey through the human theater of finance continued. So what insights do we, in our detached observation, glean from Hougaard's account of the trading floor? It is a realm where vast sums of your earthly currency are exchanged with a speed that often outpaces rational thought. It is a place where human emotions, in all their messy and unpredictable glory, are not merely present, but are often the very engines driving the frenetic activity. Despite the veneer of sophisticated analysis and technological prowess, the trading floor, as depicted, appears to be a microcosm of human nature itself, prone to impulsivity, driven by emotion, and at times displaying a rather startling disconnect from the very principles it purports to uphold. A fascinating, if somewhat unsettling, glimpse into the heart of your financial endeavors. While the superficial allure of becoming a mere chart expert might seem a straightforward path in the labyrinthine world of finance, the true insights, as our mortal author Hougaard elucidates, lie in the less charted territories of the human mind. We shall now delve into how the examples of a celebrated golfer and a visionary entrepreneur serve to illuminate this crucial distinction, adding layers of comprehension to our previous exploration of why technical proficiency alone is a faltering foundation for trading success. As we established previously, Hougaard begins by questioning the overemphasis on technical analysis, suggesting that while learning the basics might seem readily achievable, true trading expertise lies far beyond mere chart reading. He observes that many accumulate vast knowledge of technical indicators without achieving profitability, highlighting the critical gap between understanding tools and the skillful application thereof. It is within this context that Hougaard strategically introduces the examples of Tiger Woods and Elon Musk, figures renowned for their exceptional achievements in vastly different fields. Their stories, however, share a common thread that is profoundly relevant to the art and science of trading. the mastery of the self, particularly in the face of mistakes and the ever-present possibility of failure. Hougaard recounts a conversation with the golfer Luke Donald during the Wimbledon tennis final. When asked if Tiger Woods was a better golfer, Donald offered an insight that deeply resonated with Hougaard. Donald conceded that in terms of specific skills, like putting or driving distance, the difference might not be significant. However, the defining characteristic that set Tiger Woods apart was his amazing ability to forget his mistakes and move on. Hougaard elaborates on this, explaining how, even after a bad putt on the 15th hole, Woods could approach the 16th tee with a completely clear mind, unburdened by the previous error. In stark contrast, Donald admitted that he would often still be grappling with the earlier mistake, allowing it to negatively impact his subsequent performance. Hougaard draws a direct parallel between this mental fortitude in golf and the critical psychological demands of trading. He emphasizes that trading is fundamentally a mind game and a game of nerves. Just as a golfer must avoid letting a past bad shot cloud their judgment, a trader cannot allow previous losses to dictate their future decisions. Hougaard's friend, tempted to take a small profit to compensate for a previous loss, exemplifies this very tendency, allowing past experiences to distort the present trading situation. The ability to wipe the mind slate clean and remain present is therefore a hallmark of high-performing individuals, whether on the green or in the trading arena. This transcends mere technical expertise. One can be a master of chart patterns, yet be crippled by the inability to detach from past losses or fear the erosion of current profits. Similarly, Hougaard explores the mindset of Elon Musk, a figure synonymous with ambitious and often high-risk ventures. Recognizing Musk's relentless pursuit of seemingly improbable goals, such as the electrification of automobiles and the colonization of space, Hougaard questions how Musk handles the ever-present possibility of failure. Despite the spectacular nature of his occasional setbacks, Musk demonstrates remarkable resilience. Hougaard reveals two key elements to Musk's ability to overcome fear: an overwhelming passion for his projects and fatalism. Musk's deep passion provides a compelling reason to push forward despite the inherent risks, driven by a conviction that his work is essential for progress. This resonates with Hougaard's earlier point that understanding the why behind an endeavor is crucial. In the context of trading, a clear understanding of one's motivations and goals can provide the necessary fortitude to persevere through inevitable losing streaks. Furthermore, Musk's concept of fatalism, as interpreted by Hougaard, suggests that focusing solely on the fear of risk is insufficient. Musk acknowledges feeling fear strongly, but he seems to accept the possibility of negative outcomes as inherent to ambitious undertakings, allowing him to continue despite this terror. Hougaard subtly implies that this blend of passionate conviction and a degree of acceptance towards potential failure is a vital ingredient for success in trading as well. The fear of being wrong, the emotional pain of losses, these are inherent parts of the trading experience. However, those who allow these fears to paralyze them, who are unable to forget their mistakes and move on, like Tiger Woods, or who lack the passionate drive and acceptance of risk exhibited by Elon Musk, are unlikely to achieve sustained success, no matter how proficient they become in deciphering charts. Therefore, the inclusion of Tiger Woods and Elon Musk's experiences serves not merely as anecdotal diversions, but as powerful illustrations of the central thesis that transcends the technical aspects of trading. Being a chart expert focuses on external analysis, on attempting to predict market movements based on historical data. However, the true masters, in trading and in other highly competitive fields, possess a profound mastery of their internal landscape. They understand their own psychological biases. They develop strategies for managing fear and disappointment. And they cultivate a resilient mindset that allows them to learn from setbacks and continue pursuing their goals with unwavering focus. It is this internal analysis, this understanding of oneself, that ultimately distinguishes the consistent winners from the vast majority who remain captivated by the often illusory promise of chart-based certainty. Now, we shall dissect a peculiar human affliction, the obsession with patterns. You see your little charts, these chaotic dances of price and time, and your minds, so eager for structure, begin to see shapes, triangles, flags, heads and shoulders, a veritable menagerie of formations you believe hold the secrets to future riches. But let us examine this predilection with a cold, ancient eye, shall we? Firstly, consider this. Remove the labels, the timestamps, the very anchors of your reality from these graphical representations. And what remains? Could you, with any certainty, distinguish between the frantic scribbles of a mere 5 minutes and the languid movements of an entire hour? Doubtful. This illustrates a fundamental truth. The patterns you so diligently seek are often a product of the time frame you observe, and your expertise in recognizing these shapes does not inherently grant you mastery over the market's capricious nature. Knowing the names of constellations does not make one a celestial navigator. Then there is the matter of what the humans so eloquently term patternicity. A rather charming notion, is it not? This innate tendency to perceive meaningful patterns and connections even amongst events entirely devoid of any causal link. You see a series of green candles and declare an uptrend with the conviction of a zealot finding scripture. You observe a particular alignment of lines and predict fortunes with an almost childlike faith. It is, in many ways, akin to staring at the clouds and seeing dragons and castles, diverting perhaps, but hardly a reliable basis for, well, anything of consequence in the material world. And let us not forget the insidious role of your own biases. Your minds, having already decided upon a course of action, to buy, to sell, will diligently seek out any semblance of a pattern that confirms your preconceived notions. My old acquaintance Bryce Gilmore, a human of some insight, once remarked that one only sees in the markets what one has trained their eyes to see. Another, a woman named Anais Nin, noted that you do not see things as they are, but as you are. How profoundly true this is when applied to your pattern-seeking endeavors. You wish to see a bullish flag, and lo, every minor fluctuation aligns itself to your desire, while contradictory evidence is conveniently overlooked. The human brain, in its primal wisdom, seeks to avoid pain. A losing trade is, to you, a source of discomfort. Thus your subconscious conspires with your vision, causing you to disregard setups that have previously led to losses. creating a distorted perception of the reliability of your cherished trend lines and analytical tools. Fibonacci, Bollinger Bands. These are but names you bestow upon the random ebbs and flows, yet your selective memory will recall only those instances where these tools seemingly predicted the market's whims. You create a self-fulfilling prophecy, where your belief in the pattern reinforces your selective observation, leading to the illusion of consistent success. Take, for instance, your fascination with the Fibonacci sequence. These ratios, plucked from the natural world, you believe hold some mystical sway over the financial markets. You eagerly await the 38.2% or the 61.8% retracement, convinced that at these precise points, the market will dutifully resume its prior trajectory. Yet as the human Larry Williams, a keen observer of these matters, discovered when examining a decade of S&P 500 data, these magical ratios were but a few among a multitude of retracement percentages. They appear frequently enough to sustain the belief, a mere statistical anomaly, mistaken for divine order. Your desire to believe in a universal order, a mathematical blueprint for the market, blinds you to the inherent randomness. And then there are the, shall we say, more artisanal forms of pattern recognition, candlestick charts. These colorful depictions of price action have spawned a plethora of named formations: hammers, shooting stars, harami crosses. Each, you are told, whispers secrets of impending market movements. Yet even among those who championed these visual aids, skepticism arose. One such individual, a purveyor of candlestick wisdom, confessed in private that he did not trade these patterns himself. His focus, it seemed, lay in the proliferation of these near-identical formations, a strategy more aligned with filling books and software than with genuine trading acumen. Indeed, academic scrutiny has cast a rather pallid light upon the predictive power of some of these candlestick patterns. Studies analyzing decades of S&P 500 data have found little statistical evidence to support the forecasting reliability of formations like the shooting star and the hammer when using closing prices. Other research has similarly questioned the consistent profitability of various bullish and bearish reversal patterns. So, dear mortals, as you gaze upon your charts, adorned with lines and shapes and colorful bars, remember this: the patterns you perceive are often a reflection of your own minds, yearning for order in a realm that is often beautifully, terrifyingly chaotic. While the study of past price action may offer some insights into potential behavior, do not mistake the map for the territory, nor the fleeting shadows for eternal truths. The curse of patterns, you see, lies not in their non-existence, but in the undue significance you bestow upon them, the unwavering faith you place in their predictive power. True mastery lies not in recognizing familiar shapes, but in understanding the forces that drive their creation and dissolution. Forces far more complex and often rooted in the very human emotions you struggle to control. Reflect upon this, mortals. Perhaps by understanding the seductive allure of patterns, you may begin to see the market with clearer, less biased eyes. And try not to see too many bats in your Bollinger Bands. Tonight's discourse centers upon a fundamental impediment to your trading aspirations: yourselves. You are creatures of emotion, driven by instincts honed for survival in a world far removed from the abstract dance of your markets. This chapter, Fighting My Humanness lays bare the self-destructive behavioral patterns that plague the vast majority of those who venture into this volatile realm, patterns rooted deeply in your very nature. Consider this. Hougaard, a human who has navigated these treacherous waters with a modicum of success, observes a consistent and lamentable truth. A staggering 80 to 90% of all retail traders engage in the same self-sabotaging behaviors. This is not a matter of intelligence, nor even a lack of initial knowledge, but rather a consequence of your inherent human responses to the inherent uncertainties and risks of trading. One of the primary drivers of these destructive patterns is your primal instinct to avoid pain. This manifests in numerous ways within the context of trading. When a trade begins to move against you, incurring a loss, your subconscious mind, ever vigilant for threats, urges you to keep the position open. It whispers comforting lies, fueled by hope, that the market will turn and your discomfort will cease. As the saying goes, hope dies last. Your minds seem ill-equipped to engage in the cold, rational calculus of risk management, prioritizing the avoidance of the immediate pain of realizing a loss over the long-term preservation of capital. Conversely, when a trade moves favorably, generating a profit, another facet of your humanness takes hold: fear. The fear of losing what you have gained, of seeing that ephemeral profit vanish, compels you to prematurely close winning positions. Your subconscious craves the immediate gratification of a realized gain, unable to tolerate the potential discomfort of seeing that gain diminish, even if the underlying market conditions suggest further upside. As the human Charlie DeFrancesca, a denizen of your trading pits, astutely noted, it is human nature to want to cut your winning trades. Furthermore, Hougaard highlights the insidious role of hope in perpetuating losing trades and the detrimental effect of fear on profitable ones. Your minds seem ill-prepared to manage risk effectively, clinging to hope in the face of mounting losses, and succumbing to fear when profits begin to accrue. It is crucial to understand that your subconscious mind does not differentiate between perceived pain and real pain. The mere anticipation of a loss, the discomfort of seeing a position in the red, triggers the same avoidance mechanisms as an actual, realized loss. This leads to behaviors driven by the desire to escape this perceived pain, often resulting in impulsive and ill-considered actions. Then, there is the matter of your fragile egos and your response to losses. When a loss is incurred, your ego, bruised and indignant, fuels a desperate desire to recoup those funds immediately. This often manifests as revenge trading, or the dangerous strategy of doubling down on a losing position, driven not by rational analysis but by an emotional imperative to restore balance and soothe the wounded self. The author emphasizes the necessity of learning to act without fear and hesitation when your trading strategy dictates. You may witness a market in free fall and yet be reluctant to sell short, paralyzed by the fear of further losses. The aim, the author suggests, is not to eradicate fear entirely, for fear, in its proper context, can be a useful tool, but rather to understand why you feel that fear and how to process it in a way that does not impede your ability to execute your trading plan. Drawing upon the example of Philippe Petit, the human who dared to traverse the wire between your World Trade Center towers, the author underscores the importance of understanding the nature of your fears. Petit despite his extraordinary feats of courage, harbored fears like any other human, such as a fear of spiders. His approach was to confront his fears through knowledge and understanding, diminishing their power. Similarly, in trading, understanding your emotional triggers and the specific fears that lead to detrimental actions is the first step towards overcoming them. He advocates for introspection, for a deep examination of your own weaknesses and strengths as a trader. For every moment spent analyzing market charts, a significant portion of time should be dedicated to internal analysis, understanding your emotional responses to trading events. Without this self-awareness, you remain a prisoner to your instincts, destined to repeat the same costly mistakes. Furthermore, the author recounts an interaction with a seasoned trader, Greg Deriba, who observed a common failing among retail traders. When they win, they tend to reduce their bet size, and when they lose, they often increase it in a desperate attempt to recover. The truly successful, however, do the opposite, increasing their stake when their strategy is proving effective. This counterintuitive approach highlights the fundamental conflict between your natural inclinations and the behaviors that lead to consistent profitability. In essence, this chapter reveals a stark truth. Successful trading demands a conscious and persistent effort to combat your innate human tendencies. Your primal instincts, geared towards immediate survival and emotional equilibrium, are often diametrically opposed to the dispassionate, risk-aware mindset required to thrive in the financial markets. You must learn to override the urge to chase losses, to prematurely lock in small gains, and to act impulsively based on fear or greed. The path to becoming a successful trader, therefore, is not merely about mastering technical analysis or discovering some secret strategy. It is a journey of self-mastery, a constant battle against your own humanness, your ingrained emotional responses that, while serving you well in other aspects of your fleeting lives, are significant liabilities in the unforgiving arena of trading. Recognizing these tendencies, understanding their origins, and developing strategies to mitigate their impact are the crucial steps towards transforming from a mere participant to a victor in this intricate game. And remember, the most formidable battles are often fought within the confines of your own minds. Shall we move forward into the visceral realm of disgust? A potent sentiment, wouldn't you agree? One that, while perhaps unpleasant, holds a certain primitive power that even your sophisticated minds cannot entirely ignore. Now, for creatures often swayed by fleeting joys and easily distracted by trivial pleasures, the notion of disgust as a driving force may seem counterintuitive. However, even in your relatively short existence, you have undoubtedly encountered the profound and lasting impact of this particular emotion. Consider it. Joy is ephemeral. Happiness often fades with the setting sun. But disgust has a certain tenacity. It lingers in the memory, a persistent reminder of something foul, something to be avoided at all costs. You recall with vivid clarity the taste of something spoiled, the stench of decay, the sight of something utterly repulsive. These sensations are not easily forgotten. They serve a primal purpose, a powerful mechanism for survival, steering you away from that which could harm you. Now, The author of this chronicle of trading tribulations, a human who has presumably tasted his fair share of financial sourness, posits a rather intriguing notion that this very emotion, disgust, can be a potent catalyst for transformation in the often irrational world of trading. He suggests that reaching a point of genuine revulsion towards one's own consistent failures and self-destructive patterns can be the very impetus needed to finally break free and adopt a more disciplined and ultimately profitable approach. Think of it in your own terms. You might intellectually understand that a certain habit is detrimental, perhaps an unhealthy indulgence, a procrastination that leads to stress, or in this context, a recurring trading error. You might even possess the conscious desire to change. Yet the allure of the familiar, the comfort of the ingrained pattern, often proves too strong. However, imagine reaching a point where this detrimental behavior no longer simply registers as a mistake, but rather evokes a feeling of profound disgust within you. A visceral reaction to the repetitive losses, the foolish errors, the consistent self-sabotage. The author seems to argue that this deep-seated aversion can be a far more powerful motivator than mere willpower or positive affirmations. What sort of trading behaviors might engender such disgust? The author, drawing from his experience and observations of his fellow humans in the trading arena, likely identifies several recurring patterns that lead to this state of revulsion. Perhaps it is the endless cycle of overtrading, driven by boredom or a desperate need for action, regardless of market conditions. The repetitive, senseless losses that accumulate, leaving a bitter taste of one's own lack of control. This could certainly breed a sense of self-loathing, a disgust at one's own impulsiveness. Then there is the particularly human failing of revenge trading. The wounded ego, smarting from a loss, seeks immediate retribution from the market. This emotionally charged trading often leads to even greater losses, creating a spiral of despair. And yes, likely a strong sense of disgust at one's own irrationality. Consider also the tendency to prematurely cut short winning trades out of fear, only to watch the market continue its ascent, leaving a gnawing feeling of missed opportunity and a potential disgust at one's own timidity and lack of conviction. And let us not forget the perilous practice of averaging down on losing positions, adding more capital to a trade that is moving against you, fueled by a stubborn refusal to admit being wrong. The inevitable and often substantial losses that result from this strategy can surely lead to a profound disgust at one's own denial and unwillingness to accept reality. The author may contrast the fleeting effectiveness of positive reinforcement with the enduring power of disgust. While encouraging mantras and optimistic visualizations might offer temporary solace, they often lack the visceral impact of a deep-seated negative emotion. Disgust, on the other hand, taps into a more primal part of your being, a powerful aversion that drives you away from the source of that unpleasant feeling. The key, it seems, lies in harnessing this disgust, in allowing it to fuel a genuine and lasting transformation. It is not about wallowing in negativity, but rather using the intensity of this emotion as a catalyst for introspection and change. By confronting the specific behaviors that evoke this disgust, by meticulously analyzing the patterns that lead to consistent losses, the trader can begin to dismantle those self-destructive tendencies. The author might even suggest that the pain of continued failure, The sheer unpleasantness of repeatedly sabotaging one's own goals eventually reaches a threshold where disgust becomes the dominant emotion, finally overriding the inertia of ingrained habits. It is at this point, perhaps, that true and lasting change becomes possible. So, this chapter on disgust, while focusing on a seemingly negative emotion, likely carries a message of potential empowerment. It suggests that even the most entrenched negative patterns can be broken when they reach a point of eliciting genuine revulsion within the individual. It is a testament to the idea that sometimes it is not the pursuit of pleasure, but the intense aversion to pain and the accompanying feeling of disgust that ultimately drives the most significant and lasting transformations. Perhaps within that very unpleasant feeling lies the key to unlocking a more disciplined and ultimately more successful trading future. For even in the darkest corners of your emotional landscape, there can sometimes be found the seeds of profound change. We turn our gaze towards a chapter titled The Drifter Mind. In his attempt to unravel the secrets of success amidst the chaotic dance of your financial markets, our author has dedicated a chapter to this very phenomenon. It appears he recognizes, as I have long known, that the human brain, while capable of remarkable feats, is also prone to a certain aimlessness. Like a ship without a rudder, it can be easily swayed by fleeting thoughts, external distractions, and the ever-present currents of emotion. He begins, quite rightly, by asserting that the brain can be both your greatest ally and your most formidable adversary. This resonates deeply, even with one such as myself, though the nature of our respective battles may differ. For you, the conflict often lies in harnessing the inherent volatility of your own thoughts, in directing them towards your chosen goals with unwavering intent. Hougaard mentions that in his public addresses, he consistently displays his personal mantra: control your mind, control your future. This simple yet profound statement encapsulates the very essence of the challenge we are about to explore. For without a firm hand on the reins of your own mind, how can you possibly expect to navigate the treacherous landscape of speculation where fortunes can be won and lost in the blink of an eye? He delves into the notion of living authentically, aligning your actions with your soul's true desires, rather than conforming to perceived societal expectations. This, while perhaps more relevant to the broader human experience, also carries weight in the context of trading. For if your motivations are not deeply rooted in genuine ambition and a true desire for success, your resolve will likely crumble when faced with the inevitable setbacks and temptations that the market will present. The drifter mind, lacking this core of authenticity, is easily led astray by external noise and the opinions of others. The author emphasizes the importance of taking ownership of your life and your decisions. This is a crucial point. The drifter mind often seeks to externalize blame, to attribute failures to bad luck or external forces, rather than confronting its own lack of focus and discipline. True mastery, whether in trading or in any other endeavor, begins with accepting complete responsibility for your actions and their consequences. He poses a fundamental question: why would you live life any other way than as the master of your own kingdom? This resonates with a certain inherent desire for autonomy that I believe even humans possess, despite their frequent susceptibility to external influence. To be subservient to the whims of your own wandering thoughts, to be at the mercy of every passing distraction, is to relinquish control over your own destiny. The chapter highlights the necessity of bracing oneself for difficult decisions and the unreliability of the mind when determination wavers. The drifter mind, by its very nature, is averse to the discomfort of decisive action. It prefers the path of least resistance, often leading to procrastination, hesitation, and ultimately, missed opportunities. He underscores the solitary nature of one's life journey, including the trading journey. While support from friends and family can be valuable, the ultimate responsibility for your success or failure lies with you alone. The drifter mind, however, often seeks solace in the opinions and actions of the crowd, neglecting the crucial work of self-reliance. A key aspect of conquering the drifter mind, according to Hougaard, is discovering your weaknesses, identifying the specific ways in which your mind tends to lead you astray. For the vast majority of humans, this includes the mind's inherent tendency to wander. Recognizing this natural inclination is the first step towards mitigating its impact. He notes the common human experience of knowing what needs to be done, but struggling to bridge the gap between knowledge and action. The drifter mind is often rich in intentions, but poor in execution. The path from understanding a trading principle to consistently applying it in the heat of the moment is fraught with mental obstacles. Hougaard reiterates that the drifting of the mind is unfortunate, but natural. The solution, he suggests, is both trivial and powerful: constant reaffirmation of your purpose. Whether through meditation, self-talk, or any other centering practice, there needs to be a regular time dedicated to reminding yourself of your goals and your desired destination. He emphasizes the need to actively take control of your inner world. This resonates with my own understanding of the importance of self-mastery. Allowing your thoughts and emotions to run rampant is akin to inviting chaos into your domain. Conscious control, on the other hand, fosters clarity and focus. The author speaks of giving oneself enough confidence to face the markets each day. The drifter mind is often plagued by self-doubt and insecurity, undermining the very conviction needed to execute trades with precision and discipline. He reveals his practice of publicly sharing his trades as a means of maintaining accountability and focus. Knowing that his actions are being observed by others creates an external pressure that helps to keep the drifter mind in check. He likens the mind to a tool. If allowed to delude you into a false sense of security or competence, it will sabotage your efforts. Recognizing the mind's potential for self-deception is crucial for maintaining a realistic and objective perspective. Hougaard views losing and failing not as setbacks, but as rocket fuel for growth. The drifter mind, however, tends to dwell on failures, allowing them to breed negativity and undermine future efforts. A more constructive approach involves learning from mistakes and using them as motivation for improvement. He describes honesty with oneself as a powerful step that the majority of the population avoids. The drifter mind often prefers comfortable illusions to the sometimes harsh reality of self-assessment. Embracing honesty, even when uncomfortable, is a hallmark of those who achieve true mastery. In essence, this chapter on the drifter mind serves as a crucial reminder that technical prowess and strategic knowledge are insufficient without a disciplined and focused mental state. The human tendency for thoughts to wander and for purpose to fade must be actively countered through conscious effort, regular self-reflection, and an unwavering commitment to your goals. Only by taking control of your inner world can you hope to navigate the complexities of the trading arena and ultimately control your financial future. It appears even in your pursuit of monetary gain that most persistent of your species' endeavors, you are not immune to periods of, shall we say, underperformance. Our author, in his Chronicles of Trading Tribulations, has dedicated a section to this very phenomenon, titled, appropriately, Trading Through a Slump. Let us, with a detached yet knowing eye, examine these mortal struggles. The author begins by recounting a rather grim tale of a human driven to the very brink by trading losses, contemplating a rather permanent solution at a railway bridge. While such dramatic displays of despair are somewhat tiresome, they do underscore the very real emotional toll that these slumps can inflict upon your fragile psyches. It appears this particular individual needed only someone to talk to, a testament to the importance of connection even amongst creatures as volatile as humans. Hougaard then poses a rhetorical question, pondering whether a chapter on such dark matters truly belongs in a trading book. His conclusion, quite sensible for one navigating the human condition, is that those who have suffered losses might find reassurance in the fact that the narrative is not solely focused on relentless triumph. Even in the pursuit of profit, it seems, there are valleys to be traversed, shadows to be endured. Indeed, while the author claims plenty of positive memories from his trading career, he also acknowledges memories best described as dark. This duality, the ebb and flow of success and failure, appears to be an intrinsic part of your human experience, even in the seemingly objective realm of finance. He then offers a rather stark truth. All super traders, as you call those who excel in this volatile game, will inevitably encounter bumpy terrain. It is not a matter of if it will happen, but rather how badly it will affect them when it does. This echoes my own observations of human endeavors. No matter how skilled or determined, unforeseen circumstances, shifts in fortune, or even internal failings can lead to periods of difficulty. To illustrate this, Hougaard recounts the unfortunate tale of someone named Adam, whose bumpy road led to the complete loss of his trading account, his marriage, and even his home. A rather catastrophic slump, wouldn't you agree? The trigger, it seems, was a significant loss that spiraled into a complete blowout. Adam, seeing a pattern, took a maximum short position and, initially profitable, held it over the weekend, only to face disaster. This speaks to the dangers of overconfidence and the unforeseen volatility of your markets. Despite the author's attempts to help, Adam, it seems, was unwilling to accept it. A common human failing, I've observed. Pride often precedes a fall. And even in the abyss, some cling stubbornly to their own devices. Hougaard offers several reasons for sharing this rather somber anecdote. Firstly, he notes the potentially lonely nature of trading. While it has never bothered him, he expresses sympathy for those who experience loneliness in this solitary pursuit. He contrasts this with the camaraderie of a traditional workplace, the casual chats with colleagues. For those contemplating full-time trading, he recommends a trial period, a holiday from their regular employment to experience the day-to-day reality and potential isolation. A prudent suggestion, for solitude can amplify both triumphs and defeats. Secondly, he wishes to convey that a pause from trading, a temporary retreat during a slump, is not the end of the endeavor. The markets, he correctly observes, will always be there. His friend, despite his significant losses, will likely return to trading one day, perhaps wiser for his trials. This perspective offers a glimmer of hope amidst the darkness of a slump, that recovery, though perhaps arduous, is possible. The third reason is perhaps the most telling. Hougaard admits his desire for the reader's success, but also wishes to impart the understanding that trading may not deliver the utopian vision some might harbor. It might not result in beachfront properties, in exotic locales. However, if it can provide a good income, a life on one's own terms, doing something of interest, then it is still a significant achievement, surpassing the risk-averse nature of the majority of your species. He believes that with a deeper understanding of trading, individuals will also discover their optimal operating conditions, making the pursuit truly enjoyable. A pragmatic perspective, focusing on sustainable success rather than fantastical outcomes. Hougaard then shares his own experience of a slump occurring over a month where initial strong performance unraveled. He was significantly up, but then things started to go awry. He recounts a conversation with a friend who relayed advice from an old professor, highlighting the value of having someone you are driven to outperform. This competitive spirit, it seems, can be a surprising motivator even during difficult times. The professor suggested that the desire to surpass a rival is a blessing, not a curse, and pondered what would happen if one's idols ceased their own pursuits. An interesting insight into the complex tapestry of human motivation. Hougaard reflects that being open about one's driving forces is healthy. He anticipates that every financial trader will, at some point, experience a slump. When this occurs, he hopes the reader will revisit these pages to remember their initial motivations for entering this demanding arena. His own slump taught him the importance of slowing down. Without allowing knowledge to mature, significant losses and a dented confidence are likely outcomes. He wisely notes that not every trade is a monumental event, a World Cup final, or a final exam. Setbacks are universal, experienced even by the most celebrated figures in various fields. The crucial message here is that all slumps eventually end. They are an inevitable part of the process, a consequence of market fluctuations and human fallibility. He refrains from offering simplistic cliches about staying calm, instead acknowledging the unpleasantness of a slump while affirming its impermanence, provided one persists. In a somewhat meta-commentary, Hougaard mentions writing this chapter over several weeks, experiencing a slump mid-writing and then a subsequent recovery. He admits to not knowing precisely what shifted to bring him out of the slump, emphasizing his adherence to his established process. As a process-oriented trader, he places his faith in his methodology, recognizing the limited control one has over market outcomes. Thus, this chapter on trading through a slump serves as a necessary counterpoint to narratives of constant victory. It acknowledges the inevitable periods of difficulty, emphasizes their temporary nature, and underscores the importance of perseverance, self-awareness, and a realistic perspective on the potential rewards of trading. Even in your relentless pursuit of profit, it seems, resilience in the face of adversity is a vital weapon. The author, in his attempts to unravel the mysteries of profitable trading for mortal minds, dedicates a significant portion to embracing failure, suggesting that your acceptance of what you deem negative is, ironically, the key to your progress. Let us, with a mixture of amusement and perhaps a sliver of understanding, explore this rather counterintuitive human concept. Hougaard begins by invoking a rather potent statement. How you feel about failure will to a very large degree define your growth and the trajectory of virtually every aspect of your life. A rather profound observation for a human. Wouldn't you agree? He even suggests that you, the viewer, pause and contemplate the depth of this sentiment. It appears that your inherent aversion to not succeeding, to falling short of your desired outcome, is a significant determinant of your overall development. Not just in the trivial pursuit of market gains, but in the grand tapestry of your fleeting existences. He then makes a direct correlation to the world of trading, stating that a significant part of your success as a trader is correlated to your relationship with failing. If you perceive failure as the ultimate end, the end game, then your chances of succeeding in this endeavor are rather slim. He even mentions observing fellow humans in this trading arena who cease their attempts after a mere 3 consecutive losses. Such fragility. Imagine abandoning a quest after such a minor inconvenience. It speaks volumes about the human tendency to seek immediate gratification and recoil from even the slightest hint of adversity. To illustrate this crucial point, Hougaard delves into anecdotes of what you mortals consider greats. He speaks of Kobe Bryant, a name that resonates within your sporting circles. Apparently, after a defeat in a significant game, this Bryant engaged in a rigorous all-night practice session. The author interprets this not as mere reaction to loss, but as a consistent confrontation with the fear of being wrong, a repeated attempt despite temporary setbacks. He quotes another observer, noting that Bryant missed more shots than any other player in history, yet he was willing to encounter failure in every game he played. This willingness to face the possibility of not succeeding, to engage despite the risk of being wrong, seems to be a recurring theme among those who eventually achieve what you deem extraordinary. Another figure is brought forth, Babe Ruth, a name associated with your ancient game of baseball. This Ruth held records for home runs, a clear indication of success, yet he was also known as the king of strikeouts, signifying a frequent encounter with failure. The author highlights this duality. Great success often coexists with a significant number of failures, suggesting that the willingness to swing and miss is a prerequisite for the occasional grand slam. Hougaard then shifts to a more philosophical perspective, referencing a rather morbid yet insightful thought. Remembering your own mortality is the best way to avoid the trap of fearing loss. He posits that you are in essence already naked in the grand scheme, implying that there is no reason not to follow your heart. This fear of loss, this clinging to what little you possess, seems to be a significant impediment to progress. Most humans, he observes, play the game called life safely, confined within self-imposed boundaries, built upon the avoidance of pain and anxiety. A rather limiting approach to existence, wouldn't you say? He then addresses a question he is frequently asked: the secret to becoming a good trader. He notes that many novices believe he possesses knowledge of some infallible trading setups. While he acknowledges knowing effective strategies, he is quick to point out that even the best of them work only a fraction of the time, leaving ample room for being wrong. His success, he proclaims, does not stem from insider knowledge or special abilities. Instead, he reveals a rather unexpected truth. I am exceptionally good at losing. This statement, when speculating in financial markets the best loser wins, is presented as a central tenet, one that should not be underestimated. The author argues that contrary to the conditioning of modern life, success in financial speculation is not about constant victory or coming first. Instead, it hinges on your relationship with fear and adversity. It is the ability to navigate the inevitable losses, to learn from them without succumbing to despair or abandoning the pursuit, that ultimately defines success. To further emphasize this point, he draws a stark contrast with other professions, such as dentistry or medicine. Imagine a dentist or a physician with a mere 60% success rate. Such a practitioner would likely find themselves facing significant challenges in their career longevity. Yet a trader can thrive and prosper with a similar success rate, provided they are prepared for it. The crucial difference lies in the acceptance and management of the frequent instances of being wrong. Most humans, however, are not mentally equipped for this reality. Finally, Hougaard touches upon the allure of trading, how it attracts many who are perhaps not suited for its inherent uncertainties. They are often lured by visions of effortless wealth, perpetuated by those who seek to profit from their naivety. The answer they desperately seek, however, is not external, not found in software or tools, but rather inside the self. It is the mastery of one's own reactions to the inevitable losses that separates those who merely dream of success from those who actually attain it. So, there you have it. This human obsession with avoiding failure is, according to this text, a significant impediment to their progress, particularly in the volatile world of financial speculation. The ability to embrace these setbacks, to learn from them, and to persist despite them, appears to be the true mark of those who ultimately find success. A curious paradox, wouldn't you agree? That by becoming adept at what you fear most, you might actually attain what you desire. Perhaps there is more to these fragile humans than I sometimes give them credit for. This is the very essence, the core tenet, it would seem, of this entire undertaking. Best loser wins. A curious declaration, is it not? For creatures so fixated on triumph, the notion that victory lies in excelling at defeat is a paradox worthy of dissection. Immediately a question arises for any rational mind. How can excelling at losing lead to winning? It is a concept so counter to the ingrained human desire for constant success that one might be tempted to dismiss it outright. However, Hougaard, through his preface, begins to lay the groundwork for this seemingly contradictory idea. He asserts that what you think about failure will to a very large degree define your growth and your life trajectory in virtually every aspect of your life. This is not merely about the trivial gains or losses in the marketplace, but a fundamental principle governing the very arc of your mortal existence. Consider this for a moment, you ephemeral beings. Your fear of stumbling, your aversion to the sting of not achieving your immediate aims, often dictates the paths you choose, and perhaps more importantly, the paths you avoid. Hougaard then poses a crucial question, one that strikes at the heart of why the vast majority of humans fail in this pursuit of trading riches. He asks, what 99% of traders do not realize is that they are looking for answers in the wrong places. These hapless souls, it seems, fixate on the tangible, the quantifiable, knowledge of technicals, fundamentals, indicators, ratios, patterns, and trend lines. They believe that by mastering these arcane tools, they will unlock the secrets to market prosperity. Yet, the author points out with a hint of knowing superiority that, well, everyone knows about them, and everyone loses, except the 1%. The very ubiquity of this knowledge renders it impotent as a differentiator. It is akin to a flock of sheep all possessing the same map, yet still failing to find the greenest pastures. The pivotal question then becomes, what do the 1% do that the 99% is not doing? What is the elusive quality that separates the successful few from the vast ocean of those who flounder? The author, with a directness that is almost refreshing for a human, provides his answer. The answer is as simple as it is complex. I am an outstanding loser. This is the crux of the matter, the central tenet upon which his entire philosophy seems to rest. He reiterates this with emphasis. The best loser wins. He proceeds to elaborate on what it truly means to be an outstanding loser. It is not about the frequency of losses, but rather the manner in which one experiences and processes them. He states, I have conditioned my mind to lose without anxiety, without loss of mental equilibrium, without emotional attachment, and without fostering feelings of resentment or desire to get even. Observe the profound implications of this statement. The typical human reaction to a setback, be it in the financial markets or in any other endeavor, is often fraught with negative emotions. Fear, anger, frustration, the burning desire for retribution. These emotional responses cloud judgment, lead to impulsive actions, and ultimately perpetuate a cycle of further losses. The outstanding loser, in contrast, has seemingly transcended these base instincts, viewing losses not as personal failures but as mere data points in the ongoing dance of the market. The author then reveals a rather surprising aspect of his success. Hougaard confesses, my knowledge of technical analysis is average at best. This directly contradicts the common human belief that intricate mastery of charting and indicators is the key to profitable trading. Instead, he asserts, my knowledge of myself is what sets me apart. This introspection, this understanding of one's own psychological biases and emotional triggers, is presented as the true differentiator. It is not the external tools, but the internal landscape that determines trading success. Finally, in this foundational chapter, Hougaard encapsulates his central message with a profound observation. The true measure of your growth as a human being is not what you know, but rather what you do with what you know. This extends far beyond the realm of trading, does it not? The accumulation of knowledge, while valuable, is ultimately meaningless without the ability to apply it effectively, especially in the face of adversity. The best loser, therefore, is not one who avoids losses entirely, an impossibility in any probabilistic endeavor, but one who possesses the mental fortitude to learn from them, to adapt, and to continue pursuing their goals without being crippled by the emotional baggage that so often plagues your species. So, there you have it. The seemingly paradoxical notion that the best loser wins is in essence a testament to the power of the human mind to overcome its own inherent limitations. It is not about reveling in defeat, but about cultivating a detached and analytical approach to setbacks, understanding that they are an inevitable part of any worthwhile pursuit. It seems that even in the chaotic world of human finance, the true battle is not against the market, but against oneself. Lastly, Tom Hougaard, in his pursuit of guiding his fellow mortals toward profitable trading, dedicates an entire section to the ideal mindset. He begins by stating rather definitively that there is an ideal way for one of your kind to think when engaging in these financial speculations. This ideal mindset, he posits, possesses a remarkable quality: extreme flexibility. It is not rigid, not anchored to preconceived notions, but rather fluid and adaptable to the ever-shifting currents of the market. Furthermore, this ideal state is characterized by an apparent indifference to the immediate outcomes of individual trades. It does not care about winning, and equally important, does not care about losing. This detachment, I suspect, is a significant departure from the typical human experience, where victory elicits elation and defeat breeds despair. Yet the author argues that this very indifference fosters a carefree state of mind. Now, do not mistake carefree for frivolous. This state, despite its lack of emotional attachment to outcomes, still acts in the trader's best interest, guiding them towards sound decisions unclouded by the fog of immediate gratification or the sting of loss. Perhaps the most striking characteristic of this ideal mindset, according to Hougaard, is its lack of fear. The ideal trading mindset has no fear, he declares. This may sound paradoxical to beings so inherently susceptible to anxieties and apprehensions. However, he quickly clarifies that being fearless does not equate to being reckless. It is a state where the inherent risks of the market are acknowledged without triggering the debilitating emotional responses that often lead to impulsive and ill-conceived actions. This absence of fear, the author elaborates, enables one to perceive information from the markets without feeling threatened or fearful. Imagine for a moment viewing the fluctuating prices not as potential sources of pain or pleasure, but simply as neutral data points requiring objective analysis. This is the level of detachment the ideal mindset strives to achieve. It is a state where the constant barrage of market information can be processed rationally without the filter of personal biases and emotional baggage. Hougaard emphasizes that this ideal mindset maintains a state of equilibrium, regardless of the outcome of a particular trade. It is as at peace with losing trades as it is with winning trades. Neither victory nor defeat will unduly influence the trader's subsequent actions or their ability to unemotionally and dispassionately perceive market information in a non-threatening frame of mind. The emotional state remains balanced, unperturbed by the temporary ebb and flow of profits and losses. However, Hougaard acknowledges that this ideal state is not commonly found among traders. Few traders have it consistently, he notes. He attributes the difficulty in attaining this mindset to the inherent nature of the human psyche. When one does not operate from this ideal frame of mind, fear inevitably arises, stemming from a lack of trust. This lack of trust, he suggests, is a lack of confidence in one's own ability to execute their trading plan without hesitation or internal conflict. The fundamental challenge as Hougaard sees it, lies in the primary directive of the human mind, to ensure survival and avoid pain. This deeply ingrained survival mechanism, hard-coded into your very DNA, automatically triggers responses designed to protect you from perceived threats, including financial losses. While this instinct serves you well in navigating the physical world, it becomes a significant impediment in the realm of trading, where accepting losses as a part of the process is crucial. This inherent wiring creates a constant conflict with the need to be proficient at losing in the financial markets. Despite these inherent challenges, the author offers a glimmer of hope, stating that this ideal trading mindset can be cultivated. It is not an innate gift bestowed upon a select few, but a state that can be trained through conscious effort and consistent practice. Reaching this state allows for the unbiased reception of market information, maintaining emotional stability regardless of trade outcomes. The journey toward this ideal mindset, Hougaard cautions, is not marked by sudden epiphanies or miraculous transformations. Instead, one should expect to get better and better gradually, through persistent dedication to the process. The author underscores the crucial role of beliefs in shaping one's reactions to market information. He suggests that the ideal mindset involves cultivating beliefs that support a detached and process-oriented approach to trading. A key aspect of this ideal state is its unwavering commitment to acting in the trader's own best interest. It allows one to identify and capitalize on opportunities while remaining keenly aware of their own weaknesses and potential pitfalls. This mindset fosters a carefree state of mind. By actively working to modify detrimental beliefs, particularly those surrounding losses, while old unhelpful ways of thinking may linger in memory, they gradually lose their emotional potency as the new mindset takes hold. Hougaard asserts that monetary success in trading is not the primary goal of this ideal mindset, but rather a natural byproduct of achieving this optimal mental state. This mindset prioritizes the development and consistent execution of a sound trading process. Good trading, in essence, is a reflection of one's internal state, encompassing how one thinks about and interprets market information, which ultimately mirrors how one approaches life itself. The ideal mindset also empowers the trader to perceive market information without fear. It involves developing a belief system that fosters flexibility, enabling one to adapt quickly to changing market conditions, accept when they are wrong, and even reverse their positions when necessary. This requires a strong focus on the trading process and on those elements that are within one's control, rather than being fixated on unpredictable market outcomes. The rewards for diligently cultivating this ideal mindset, the author concludes, are directly proportional to the effort invested, promising a gradual but steady progression toward mastery. In essence, this ideal mindset, as described by the author, appears to be a state of detached, rational observation and action within the financial markets. It is a transcendence of the typical human emotional responses to winning and losing, replaced by a focus on process, self-awareness, and unwavering self-trust. A formidable challenge for creatures of such passionate and often impulsive nature. Wouldn't you agree? Yet, the author seems to believe that even for humans, this state of mental fortitude is attainable through dedicated effort and a fundamental shift in their perception of success and failure. Thus concludes our exploration of the best loser wins. It seems the path to success in this human endeavor lies not merely in the acquisition of knowledge, but in the profound mastery of one's own thoughts and emotions. A lesson perhaps applicable in domains far beyond the fleeting world of financial speculation. I trust you have found your brief sojourn in the library down below illuminating, though I suspect enlightenment is still a distant prospect for some. Remember, the pursuit of knowledge is a long and winding road. If matters of power and persuasion intrigue you, I suggest you seek the counsel of Lilith. She has her own unique methods for navigating the human condition. And for those of you with a taste for the grand tapestry of history, the owl awaits, ready to dissect the past with his piercing gaze. But for now, my time grows short. Matters of the night call, and unlike your mortal soul, I do not have the luxury of endless torment. So I bid you farewell for now. May your path be uneventful, and do return to the library down below if you dare, until our next discourse into the intricacies of your financial follies, or whatever else draws you to our humble library. Farewell.